Sorry.
Very good evening and welcome to Primetime News, coming to you live and direct from our Newsfirst studios here in Colombo. Today is the 29th of January 2024. For the Newsfirst team, I am Jaimal Ratnayaka.
And I am Rochelle Thamodra. Let's first take a look at the headlines for tonight.
Sri Lankan fishermen freed from armed group. Sri Lankan youth trapped in Myanmar cyber hell. Cry for rescue. CID arrests social activist Piyak Nikeshala. Former Army Chief Daya Ratnayaka joins the SJB. New state ministerial portfolio for Lohan Ratwatte. 18 government sector trade unions launch sick leave campaign.
On our top story tonight, the Sri Lanka Navy announced that 6 Sri Lankan fishermen who were held captive by an armed group have been safely released. The Sri Lanka Navy announced earlier today.
According to a statement issued by the Navy, the rescue operation was a joint effort involving Seychelles security forces and the Sri Lankan Navy.
In a dramatic turn of events, all 6 crew members of the Sri Lankan fishing vessel Lorenzo Puta 4, who were abducted by an armed group, have been safely rescued and are en route to the Seychelles capital. This was confirmed by the Sri Lanka Navy. The rescue operations, a joint effort between Seychelles security forces and the Sri Lanka Navy, saw not only the release of the fishermen, but also the surrender of 3 members of the armed group.
Seychelles Rajya visin onge guanyana dekak yodawala mema modu.
Seychelles had assigned 2 aircraft to survey the area of the ocean. The vessel named Topaz of the Seychelles Coast Guard had been deployed to the area. The special mission was launched once a vessel similar to the one that was taken over by pirates was observed in the exclusive economic zone of Seychelles. Upon observation, authorities had noticed that there were armed men on the vessel. They had been arrested 230 nautical miles northeast of the Mahe Island, where the capital of Seychelles is located.
ඊසාන දිශාවට නාවික සතුපුම් 230කින් පවන දුරකින් තමයි අතටම අරගෙන තියෙන්නේ.
මේ බාඳුව දැන් මේ හයිදරාබාද් මේ කියන්නේ සලිපෙක ඉන්නවනේ නේද? බෝට්ටුවෙම ඉන්නේ නේද? සීසල් වලටද මේ කන්දයි යන්න කියලාද කියන්නේ? එහෙම යාම කියන විදිහේ වැඩ කටයුතු කරගන්න කියන්නේ නේද? හරි යාළුවා ඉතින් හොඳින් ඉන්නවනේ කියලා කියන්නේ නේ. ඒවා මොකොත් මේ ගහලා කරලා එහෙම නැහැ නේද? ඒකටම සාල් දෙන්න මේක ස්තුතියි.
That was the message received from the Lorenzo Puta 2 fishing boat. The saga began on the 12th of January when the Lorenzo Puta 4 departed Dekovita harbour with its crew of 6, all residents of Maravilla. The vessel ventured into the Arabian Sea, sailing roughly 840 nautical miles east of Somalia and 400 nautical miles north of Seychelles last Saturday morning. It was then that their peaceful journey took a dramatic turn. According to reports, 3 individuals from another vessel forcibly boarded the Lorenzo Puta 4, brandishing weapons and identifying themselves as Somali bandits. Fortunately, another Sri Lankan vessel, the Lorenzo Puta 2, was operating nearby. The crew of the Lorenzo Puta 2 immediately alerted the authorities upon receiving a distress message from their sister vessel detailing the abduction and the armed intruders' claims of being Somali bandits who arrived in the Iranian boat. It is also reported that the group that forcibly entered the Sri Lankan boat had fired several rounds in the sky.
A group of young Sri Lankans remain trapped in cybercrime camps run by terrorist groups in Myanmar.
Today, a delegation of distraught parents visited the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, pleading for urgent action to rescue their children.
Desperate pleas from families echo through the country as 56 Sri Lankan youth remained trapped in a nightmarish situation in remote Myanmar. Lured by promises of IT jobs in Thailand, these young people now find themselves held captive in Myanmar, forced to work for Chinese underworld groups supported by local terrorist organizations.
දැන් මාස දෙකක් තිස්සේ අපි මේකට මේ දරුවන්ව බේරා ගන්න උපරිම හැම දන්න හැම
For the past 2 months, I've been approaching every possible agency to rescue my child. The pressure on us is mounting. We are pleading from the Foreign Affairs Minister to send a delegation to Myanmar and secure the release of our children. We appeal from them to make the necessary intervention. Our children have fallen mentally. They said that the torture they endure has increased by the day.
තාම අසරණ වෙලා ඉන්නේ. එන්නෙන්නම වද හිංසා දෙන ප්‍රමාණය වැඩි කියලා දැනුවත් වෙලා තියෙන නිසා තමයි මේ ඉල්ලීම කරන්න ආවේ.
For over 2 months, Newsfirst has chronicled the desperate plight of 56 Sri Lankan youths trapped in cybercrime camps run by terrorist groups on the Myanmar-Thailand border. While the Sri Lankan Ministry of Foreign Affairs assures ongoing diplomatic efforts and promises of support from Myanmar authorities, a chilling update paints a dire picture. A young woman trapped in the camps contacted Newsfirst, revealing an escalation in torture and abuse faced by the detainees.
පැය 18ක් හැරිලා ඉන්න ඕන. අපිව එක විනාඩියක් හරි තප්පරයක් හරි ස්පේ වෙනවා දැක්කොත් එයාලා අපිව පැය 4-5 හිටවනවා. සමහර දවසට පැය 4-5 නෙමෙයි වැඩ ඉවර වෙනකන් හිටවනවා. අපි හිටගෙන වැඩ කරන්නත් ඕන. නිකන් හරි වැඩ නොකර හරි නිකන් හරි ස්පේ වෙනවා හරි දැක්කොත් එයාලා අපිට කරන්ට් එක අල්ලනවා. එයාලා කිසිම හිතක් පපුවක් නැති විතර කරන්ට් එක අල්ලන්නේ ඇඟේ පපුවට තියන්නේ. ඒක කොච්චර දරා ගන්න අමාරුද කියන එක විඳපු මිනිස්සෙක් විතරයි දන්නේ. කෑ ගහනවා. අර කරන්ට් එක අල්ලද්දි සතෙක් මරණ ගන්නට මේකින් කෑ ගහනවා. මේ බොරු ආමියකින් ඇවිල්ලා හොඳටම ගහලා අරන් ගිහලා මාංචු දාලා ජේල් දානවා. ඒ ජේල් එකට දාලා නිකන් ඉන්නේ අපේ අයව අත් වලින් එල්ලලා තියලා හොඳටම ගහනවා. දවස් 3-4 තියාගෙන හොඳටම ගහනවා. කරන්ට් එක ගහනවා. කරන්ට් එක අල්ලනවා. ඔහේ එල්ලලා තියනවා. කන්න බොන්නේ නැතුව බාත් รู ම් එකකට টয়ලට් එකකටවත් යන්නේ නැකි ගලවන්නේ නැහැ ඒවා. අපි ඉන්න විදිය මේ ඇඳුමෙම තමයි ගොඩක් අය දේවල් කරගන්නේ. මම දන්න තරමේ මමත් එක්ක හැමෝම මෙන්ටල් අවුට් වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. ඒ කියන්නේ මේ වද හිංසා, මේ ප්‍රෙෂර් එක මනුස්සයට දරා ගන්න හරිම අමාරු. ඒක විඳින්න ඕනේ. ඒකේ අමාරුව කොච්චරද කියලා බලන්න. මේ නිකන් ඉන්නකොට දැනෙනවා කවුරු හරි කතා කරනවා, ගෙවල් වලින් කතා කරනවා. ඒකට බලද්දි වටේ පිටේ කවුරුත් නැහැ. ඒ තරම් හැමෝම මෙන්ටල් අවුට් වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. එන්න දැන් අපේ හැමෝගෙම මේ හිතේ තියෙන ශක්තිය නැති වෙලා යන ගෑනු ළමයි ජේල් අරන් යනවා. ඒ අරන් ගිහිල්ලා ආවට පස්සේ වෙන්දට කතා බහ කරලා ඉන්න ගෑනු ළමයි නෙමෙයි ඊට පස්සේ ඉන්නේ. වචනයක් හරියට කතා කරන්නේ නැහැ. හරියට මූණක් දෙන්නේ. ඒ කියන්නේ ජේල් වලට අරන් ගියාට පස්සේ එයාලට අතවර කරනවා. ඒව ඇහුවට ඒ ළමයි ලැජ්ජාවට ඒ දේවල් කියන්නේ. කොහොමද කියන්නකෝ මෙච්චර දේවල් විඳ දරාගන්න. මෙච්චර දේවල් වලත් අපි පුදුම ඉවසීමකින් ජීවත් වෙන්නේ. ඔයාලා අපිව ගණී කියන බලාපොරොත්තු.
The Sri Lankan youth appeal from authorities to rescue them.
වැඳලා ඉල්ලන්න ඔයාලා කියන ඕනම විදිහකට අපි ඉල්ලන්නේ. අනේ පුළුවන් නම් කොහොම හරි ඉක්මනින්ම අපිව මෙතනින් බේරගන්න. පුංචි බලාපොරොත්තුවක් හරි ගත්තෝ ඔයාලා අපිව ගණී කියන තැන අපිව මෙතනින් බේරගනී කියන. දවසින් දවස දැන් අපේ බලාපොරොත්තු නැති වෙනකොට අපේ ජීවිතේ අත්හරින්න ඕන කියන තැනට අපේ හිත ඇවිල්ලා තියෙන්නේ. පුළුවන් නම් කරුණාකරලා ඉල්ලන්නේ. හරිම කාරුණිකව ඉල්ලන්නේ. පුළුවන් නම් අපි හැමෝම මෙතනින් බේරගන්න. ඒ පින මැදි අනේ පුළුවන් නම් අපිව බේරගන්න.
Piyat Nikeshala, a social media activist, was arrested today by the Computer Crime Investigation Division of the Criminal Investigation Department. He was summoned to the Criminal Investigation Department for a statement and was later arrested.
The police said that Piyat Nikeshala was arrested on charges of breaching public order, causing public dissatisfaction with the government, and posting videos with the intention of provoking the public. Views were expressed by Piyat Nikeshala while on the way to the CID.
We are actually disappointed when CID personnel who act like lions in front of us become like kittens in front of ministers, especially before the likes of Kehli Rambukwella, because we have not done anything wrong. We just did media reporting in this country. We frequently speak about the injustices that take place in this country on social media. You actually don't have to look for us like this. If you had legally summoned us or called us on our mobile phones, we have no plans to leave the country. We anyway have travel bans imposed on us. We have elected to struggle instead of owning a passport. We would have come if we were called. But we come in the morning and afternoon. We do not know the reason. I think it is pertaining to a call record that they are summoning me. A call taken either to Tiran Alas or Deshabandhu Tennakon.
Tiran Alas mahattayata hari Deshabandhu Tennakon mahattayata hari gatta call එකක් තමයි.
Piyat Nikeshwala, who was arrested, will be produced in court tomorrow.
The National Movement of the Health Professionals resubmitted a complaint to the CID today and revealed facts about the serious pharmaceutical scams. They also handed over several alleged fake certificates to the CID that are suspected to have been issued by the NMRA for medicine registration.
The President and the Cabinet are not arresting Keheliya Rambukwella. Therefore, we suggest that these frauds and thieves are not hidden anymore and they should be arrested. Why has Keheliya Rambukwella been removed from the ministry after being given various concessions? Can such a step really be equivalent to the serious offence committed? The substandard immunoglobulin case first came to light following the fake certificate of waiver of registration issued by the NMRA. Currently, more fake certificates are circulating on social media. These fake certificates are printed in the same way. If we find the factory where these fake certificates are printed, we will be able to find the roots of the drug mafia in Sri Lanka. In connection with several drug groups including providine iodine, catrofil, bisprolal, desferal, fluticasone, prednisolone, there is now a suspicion that letters have been issued without proper standardized tests conducted by the NMRA in line with production of these drugs in Sri Lanka. We see the delay in taking legal action against the former health minister, former executive director, additional secretary and the director general of health services who created this conspiracy as a delay in the administration of justice for the people of this country.
A complaint demanding the arrest of the masked men who attacked the peaceful protest at the Liberty Roundabout in Kolpiti last Thursday was submitted to the police headquarters.
Last Thursday, a group of civil activists gathered for a peaceful protest driven by demands such as curbing the rising cost of living and ending repressive measures. Their demonstration was disrupted by a group of unidentified individuals who stormed the area with their faces masked. A group of civil activists visited the police headquarters today to file a complaint demanding the immediate arrest of those responsible for the attack.
There's uncertainty whether the police will investigate this matter. However, our priority remains holding those responsible accountable for these actions. If this issue goes unaddressed, there is a risk of this incident fading from public memory, leaving the perpetrators unpunished. This is why the civil activists came to the headquarters today.
Several civil organizations filed complaints with the Human Rights Commission today over the attack on the peaceful protest at the Liberty Roundabout in Kolpiti.
This is a weekly demonstration held by civil activists. For some time, the police had been providing security for these demonstrations. However, on this particular day, there was a noticeable absence of police presence in the area. This sudden disappearance has raised concerns among the activists, leading them to question whether the attack on the protest was a planned act. Given these doubts, it's imperative for the government to take immediate steps to investigate the matter and address the concerns of the civil society. This attack was perpetrated by an organized group. They carried swords strapped to their backs and attacked protesters with batons. This raises an important question. How could such blatant displays of violence have gone unnoticed by the police, particularly considering the proximity of intelligence agencies in Kolpiti? This lack of awareness raised concerns about whether this attack was part of a larger, premeditated plan.
මේවා දුටුවේ නැද්ද? බුද්ධියන්ස වට කරගෙන ඉන්නේ කොල්ලපිටිය කියන තැන. එතකොට මේවා දැක්කේ නැද්ද මේ අය? ඒ නිසා මේක කුමන්ත්‍රණයක්.
Demands continue for the release of tortured youth in Myanmar, the arrest of medicine scammers and those attacking peaceful protests. Beyond these pressing social issues, the political landscape itself undergoes constant transformation.
Now, appointments, changes within parties and the formation of new alliances all shape the power dynamics and the future direction of the region. Here are the latest developments coming from the political arena.
Lohan Ratwate was sworn in today as the State Minister of Plantation Industries and Mahavali Development at the President's office. After an incident in the Valikada and Anuradhapura prisons, Ratwate resigned from the portfolio of State Minister of Prisons Management and Prisoners Rehabilitation on the 15th of September 2021. Later, he was appointed as the State Minister of Industries and was appointed as the State Minister of Plantation Industries and Mahavali Development today. Former Minister of Mahavali Development Roshan Ranasinghe recently weighed in on the ongoing discussions surrounding political alliances between various parties of Sri Lanka. SLPP MPs Lalit Ellavala and Thilak Rajapaksa were also with Minister Roshan Ranasinghe.
Forming alliances with the intention of playing games is wrong. We assure you that this country can be revived. However, continued exploitation and destruction will only push us closer to the brink. We need honest and capable individuals to come together and lead us forward. The games must stop.
Another alliance was launched in Colombo today under the theme Anduratelia Eliata Saviyak.
මාර්තු මාසේ 23 වෙනිදා 785
There was an electricity tariff increase of 785% on the 23rd of March and 1057% by the 23rd of April. This is illegal. This surge led to disconnections for over 600,000 consumers. I assure that these hikes and disconnections occurred with the involvement of the President and the Minister of Finance. Under Article 4B of the Constitution, the executive power of the people, including the defence of Sri Lanka, shall be exercised by the President of the Republic elected by the people. This article has been distorted. The executive power of the people is exercised by a President rejected by the people.
දැන් මේ වගන්තියේ විකෘති වෙලා තියෙනවා. රටේ ආරක්ෂාව ඇතුළු ජනතාවගේ විධායක බලය ජනතාව විසින් ප්‍රතික්ෂේප කරන ලද ජනාධිපතිවරයෙක් විසින් ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙනවා. නීතිඥ කොහොමද මේක වෙන්නේ? ඒ කියන්නේ මේක විකෘතියක්.
Former commander of the Sri Lanka Army, General Dialog joined the Samagi Jana Balawegaya today. During the occasion, leader of the opposition Sajith Premadasa appointed General Dialog as a senior advisor on state policy of the Samagi Jana Balawegaya. General Dialog was the 20th commander of the Sri Lanka Army. Following his retirement from the military, he was appointed as the chairman of the Sri Lanka Ports Authority and also had a stint as a secretary to the Ministry of Industries. The Sri Lanka Freedom Party is engaged in continuous efforts to form a new alliance. Several rounds of discussions related to this were held this morning with the Executive Council of the Podujana Eksat Peramuna, which is represented by the chair symbol, gathering this evening led by Maithripala Sirisena.
As the Podujana Eksat Peramuna, we are creating a board organization with the symbol of the chair. Many parties and individuals have already requested to join it. Accordingly, there is an amendment to the constitution, and that will be done soon at the hall on the top floor of the party headquarters. We are hoping to appoint a new board of officials for the Podujana Eksat Peramuna within a week after the amendment. This was what we discussed today at the meeting. There are problems. Neither Mahinda Amaravira nor Tilanga Sumatipala were ready to back out. Therefore, we hope the two that have problems will resign, and we are trying to get the alliance of the beetle leaf as well.
A discussion about the upcoming political activities took place at the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna Party headquarters.
අණ්ඩායම් දෙකක් බෙදලා අපි දැක්ක මේ සුසිල් ප්‍රේමජයන්ත මහතා සහ රෝෂන් රණසිංහ මහතාලා වෙනම සන්දාන හදලා රැලි තියෙනවා. මොකද්ද මේ ගැන කියන්නේ?
ඒ බොහෝ පිරිසක් Most of them are those who call for the resignation of Mahinda Rajapaksa. They are now divided. They couldn't work together with us or themselves. They have a political opinion, so they express it. I think this is good for democracy because new parties need to be formed.
පක්ෂ බිහි වෙන්න ඕනේ.
ශ්‍රී ලංකා නිදහස් පක්ෂය ඇතුළු පක්ෂ ගණනාවක් එකතු වෙලා දැවැන්ත සන්දානයක් ගොඩනගා ගන්නද?
බොහොම හොඳයි.
Very good. The Sri Lanka Freedom Party had dropped to zero. That's where we were. Our withdrawal was driven by principle, not personal agendas. We firmly believe this country's democratic structure can thrive on a diversity of political parties.
තුල තව පක්ෂ බිහි වෙන්න ඕනේ.
The Samagi Jana Balawega is gearing up to launch a series of protests in Colombo tomorrow.
The Samagi Jana Balawega will lead massive protests in Colombo tomorrow, the 30th of January. It will be done for the people. We will convene thousands of people and force the government to lift the pressure they have put on the people, reduce taxes and to establish the people's right to live.
පොලිස්පති බරවන පොලිස්පතිතුමා රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ ජනාධිපතිතුමා අම්මා කියාවා ගන්න මට මේ කරන්න දෙයිද?
අපි ඕනම අභියෝගයකට සූදානම්.
රජයේ විසින් ජනතාව මේ තලාපෙල්ල ජනතාව පීඩාවට
We have taken steps to gather a massive crowd tomorrow, which I believe will be the biggest crowd in history. We plan to empower the people's aspiration to counter the government's repressive decisions. Tomorrow, everyone will see where we are headed and how many people are behind us. We also intend to witness the participation of many women for tomorrow's protest.
ඒ සියලුම ජනතාවත් එක්කම කාන්තාවන්ට නායකත්වය දෙමින් කාන්තාවන් විශාල ප්‍රමාණයක් සහභාගී කරන්නත් අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා.
Newsfirst, main sponsor.
Study in Australia with Adlocate. Visit us on 10th February at the Hotel Galadari.
The Houthis say they launched a missile at a US Navy ship in the Gulf of Aden. The Yemen-based group did not say whether the missile hit the vessel, which it claimed provides logistical support to the US Navy. The Houthis said that the attack was carried out, quote-unquote, to support the oppressed Palestinian people.
The US military hasn't confirmed the attack on the ship, identified as the Louis B. Puller.
Red Sea Crisis.
3 US military personnel were killed and dozens of others injured yesterday in a drone attack on a logistics support base near the Jordan-Syria border. The attack was the first loss of US lives by enemy fire since the start of the war in Gaza. US President Joe Biden has blamed Iran-backed groups for the attack and promised to hold those responsible to account at a time and in a manner of their choosing. A group calling itself the Islamic Resistance in Iraq has claimed responsibility for the drone attack that killed 3 American soldiers and wounded 34 others at a base along the Jordan-Syria border. The umbrella group had claimed responsibility for dozens of attacks against bases housing US troops in Iraq and Syria since Israel's war on Gaza began. The US in recent months has struck targets in Iraq, Syria and Yemen to respond to strikes on American forces. Iran's foreign ministry released a statement saying baseless accusations connect to the attack that killed 3 US soldiers are aimed at fanning the flames of war. Iran has said since the start of Israel's war on Gaza that failing to stop it would only expand the scope of conflict. A British warship has shot down a Houthi drone targeting a vessel in the Red Sea. The Ministry of Defense said in a statement that HMS Diamond had deployed the missile on Saturday and no injuries or damage was sustained. The Iran-backed Houthis have been targeting ships they say are linked to Israel and the West that travel through the Red Sea trade route.
Red Sea Crisis.
Trade unions representing the public, semi-public and private sectors signed a joint memorandum today demanding that all suspended electrical workers be reinstated.
These electrical workers were suspended during the trade union actions against the new legislation presented to divide the electricity board into 6 parts under the guise of restructuring. The trade union leaders who gathered opposite the head office of the Ceylon Electricity Board today signed a joint memorandum.
Take back the illegal verdicts and give back the jobs respectfully. If not, the government will definitely have to resign when we take collective decisions. We would like to emphasize to Kanchana, Ranil and the Rajapaksas and the Pohottu government that the CEB workers are not alone. All the trade unions of this country are with them today. This is why we gathered here today. It is only a dream if you think that you can sell these institutions by getting these bills passed and scaring the class that is working by suspending these workers. Not only the Ceylon Electricity Board, but none of the institutions on that list will we allow to be sold off.
18 executive-level trade unions within the government reported calling in sick today and initiated trade union action. This action stems from several demands, including finding solutions to the wage disparity issue. A conference organized at the Western Province Aesthetic Resort was disrupted by a power outage. Later, the group engaged in a protest.
Despite today being a working day, no responsible personnel are present within the ministry. Therefore, we will assemble everyone tomorrow and initiate a continuous strike.
Sri Lanka is aiming to finalize a debt restructuring of $13 billion with holders of its defaulted US dollar bonds within a couple of months. The governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka confirmed this following an article in the Financial Times which expressed concern that bondholders were kept in the dark even at this late stage in the process.
The Financial Times reported that Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe, has said Sri Lanka is aiming to negotiate a debt restructuring with holders of its defaulted US dollar bonds within a couple of months, despite complaints by private creditors that they are being left in the dark. Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe told the Financial Times that, quote, "We need to reach an agreement within a couple of months on restructuring the $13 billion of debt, as he dismissed worries that negotiations have become bogged down." He said, quote, "There's a lot of interest from private creditors to finish this as soon as possible. But because of the procedure, it takes a certain time. We also want to do that fast," unquote. The report added that prices of defaulted Sri Lankan bonds have rallied in recent months on expectations that a debt agreement will finally be reached this year. Veerasinghe has said that Sri Lanka must, quote, "ensure whatever proposals we have exchanged are consistent with the IMF's debt sustainability analysis and also comparable with what we have been discussing with other creditors. That is a bit of a complicated process," unquote. Financial Times reported that Sri Lanka will need to show it is still talking to bondholders in good faith in order to secure the next $330 million tranche of the IMF program, which is up for review in March. Hamilton Reserve Bank, a St. Kitts and Nevis-based creditor that is not part of the bondholders committee, has been seeking immediate repayment on about $250 million of Sri Lanka debt through the US courts. In response to a question on how the lawsuit might affect the debt negotiations, Dr. Veerasinghe has said that those are two parallel processes running independently.
News reports today suggest that the president has instructed SLT and Mobitel to withdraw their case challenging the Dialog Airtel merger.
News reports today suggest that President Ranil Wickremesinghe has instructed Sri Lanka Telecom and Mobitel to withdraw their case challenging the Dialog Airtel merger. According to the report, the chairman of the Telecommunications Commission has resigned without making the relevant decision. Accordingly, the President's Secretary directed a letter to the Treasury Secretary to appoint a new board of directors for Sri Lanka Telecom and Mobitel. On the 2nd of May 2023, Dialog Asiata PLC informed the Colombo Stock Exchange about its intended merger with Bharti Airtel. However, concerns were raised by Sri Lanka Telecom and Mobitel regarding potential risks associated with the merger. Against such a backdrop, President Ranil Wickremesinghe met with a delegation of Indian businessmen in Davos, Switzerland, which included Rajan Marthi Mittal, Vice President of Bharti Airtel.
The Maldivian Democratic Party, or the MDP, which holds a majority in parliament, has gathered enough signatures to submit a motion to impeach President Mohamed Muizzu.
The Maldivian Democratic Party, in partnership with the other opposition party, the Democrats, have gathered enough signatures for an impeachment motion. This comes a day after clashes broke out in the Maldives parliament between pro-government MPs and opposition lawmakers over differences over the approval of 4 members of pro-China Muizzu's cabinet. Yesterday, the main opposition, MDP, decided to withhold parliamentary approval for 4 members of the president's cabinet ahead of the voting on the cabinet. The decision of the opposition, MDP, and the Democrats' parliamentary group not to approve some members of President Muizzu's cabinet has led to the ruling party Progressive Party of the Maldives and People's National Congress Coalition affiliated parliamentarians to disrupt parliament proceedings. MDP, which has a majority in parliament, has decided not to vote to approve Attorney General Ahmadu Sham, Minister of Housing, Land and Urban Development Dr. Ali Haider, Minister of Islamic Affairs Dr. Mohammed Shahim Al Said, and Minister of Economic Development and Trade Mohammed Said. The ruling Progressive Party of Maldives and the People's National Congress Coalition have said that denying parliamentary approval to President Muizzu's cabinet will be tantamount to obstructing the services the government gives to citizens. After assuming the presidency of Maldives on last year November, Muizzu, who is regarded as a pro-China leader, formally requested India to withdraw its military personnel from his country, saying the Maldives people have given him a strong mandate to make their request to New Delhi. He also went on to upgrade Maldives' ties with China.
Vanamadda Bayankura Gotukumating is it remember Amal Kodevu Takurarko Danava. Vote on Homataka, vote Bangabil Jaswada Guma Amenama Danava. Vote to Lagabil.
And that's a wrap of Primetime News for tonight.
Thank you for stopping by. Take care and
good night.